Thank you for allowing me to interrupt dinner to be able to say hello. I know Senator Blumenthal probably covered everything that needs to be said, but I want to thank all of the folks who made this dinner possible, who make the Hall of Fame possible, in particular all of my friends at Housatonic Community College. I want to thank all the elected officials who are here. I was just standing with Marilyn Moore. I know Mayor Ganem might be here or was here, but you got so much support here in this region in particular, but throughout the state of Connecticut. And listen, I'm sure Senator Blumenthal went over it, but we frankly have a lot of very good news to talk about in this state. I know that it's tough out there. I'm visiting manufacturers on a daily basis, and I know the markets are tougher, the margins are smaller, the cost here in Connecticut, right, is higher. I get all of that, but we have a lot of good news to talk about in this state. Now, we are primarily responsible in Washington, yes, as Joe said, to bring dollars back to continue this training pipeline that is vital to manufacturing thriving here in Connecticut, but we are primarily responsible for making sure that that defense work stays here and flows into Connecticut. And as you know, we see great things ahead for our sort of main three avenues of defense production. Pratt & Whitney that's announced that they're going to hire directly 8,000 new people over the next decade, never mind all of the work that will flow down to the supply chain. Electric Boat, who just this year is hiring 1,300 new people, putting more work into the supply chain. And then the most recent announcement with respect to Sikorsky, which, you know, just from my perspective was so important. We were working with the governor hand in hand to make that announcement possible, because in the short term it means that Sikorsky is going to be doing what we call the 53K, the heavy lift helicopter here, which, by the way, they were planning to do somewhere else. They were planning to do that work originally in Florida and then possibly in South Carolina. That's new work for us here in Stratford. But what it really means is that, and you saw the announcement today, a new company from Arizona bringing about 350 jobs into Stamford, a new headquarters in Stamford. So you're really seeing some important announcements. But let me just tell you on the Sikorsky work why it's so important. So the Black Hawk production is on a natural downward progression. We're going to be developing what we call the new vertical lift system, which is essentially the three-part replacement for the Black Hawk. Now that we have cemented Sikorsky here, now that we have secured the bridge, which is that 53K, which will be about 50% of Sikorsky's business, it puts us in an enviable position in the Lockheed system to make sure that the future vertical lift helicopter is made here as well. If we had lost the 53K, if we hadn't been able to keep those jobs here, I think we would have been in a very difficult position to win that future work. And so when you look out into the broader horizons for Sikorsky and Pratt & Whitney and Electric Boat, we're in a fantastic position. But all of that work is dependent upon the workforce supply chain continuing to move in the right direction. And so we're going to continue to work like heck for federal grants that flow through the Department of Labor into programs like those that are run at the workforce, into our community college programs. Our advanced manufacturing sites are really models for the nation. We're going to be looking, frankly, to use the new Workforce Investment Act that we passed a year ago to do more direct programming with employers. The new WIA really has a simple mandate behind it, which is instead of having the workforce boards on their own determine what kind of skills we should be training for, do much clearer and definable partnerships with employers to make sure that we're employing for the exact skills that are necessary in today's manufacturers. So we're looking forward to many of those opportunities. I just want to particularly thank you for recognizing your host of awardees tonight, and I'll just finish with this and let you get back to dinner. You got a great lineup tonight, which really tells the story of Connecticut manufacturing, but let me just take a point of personal privilege to point out two of them. First, to Jerry, listen, we are all on steep learning curves when we get jobs like this. You know, my family has a history of working in manufacturing plants, but it doesn't help you understand what the owners and the job creators want. And Jerry really, for those of us who are still pretty new to this job, he helps flatten our learning curve because he's able to distill some pretty complicated concepts in terms of what manufacturers need to stay afloat to those of us who don't always speak the language naturally. And so I just think that I'm a better advocate because of Jerry, and you're fantastic to honor him. And then from an organizational standpoint, from a company standpoint, I just want to thank you for honoring Platt Brothers. I've represented Waterbury for the last 15 years, whether it be in the state legislature or in the Congress or now in the Senate. I spend a lot of my time now working on this issue of strengthening the Buy America law. I'm probably the leader in this matter in the United States Senate and House. It's a pretty simple law that says when you're buying things for the U.S. military and for the U.S. government, you should be giving preference to American manufacturers. And what I've learned over the years is that we've built loophole after loophole, exception after exception into that law, so that sometimes the end product that gets sold to the U.S. military is majority made outside of the United States. That's a terrible decision for both economic and national security reasons. But I actually learned about that on my first visit to Platt Brothers. When I was a first-term congressman, I sat down with the leadership team there, and they explained to me how they were being beaten by foreign competitors for U.S. government work because of these loopholes. It was my first exposure to this issue, and now today I have a whole legislative package designed to try to put some teeth back into that law. And so it's just a reminder of why engagement in public policy is so important. That was an issue I knew nothing about, and it was an invitation to come to a manufacturer in my district that convinced me that this is something that I needed to care about. And so I thank you for honoring Platt Brothers, not just because they're part of the fabric of our manufacturing community in Waterbury, but because they've really extended a hand to make sure that there's public policy flowing to those of us in the delegation. Really excited to work with you. Thank you to everybody here who's been part of our Monday Manufacturer program. Many of you know every Monday I highlight a manufacturer in Connecticut, tell their story so that we can, get some good news out there about manufacturing. If you haven't been part of that program and you want, we send out a press release and do a nice little thing every Monday. Please get in touch with us, and I really look forward to working with all of you for a long time in the future. Thanks a lot for inviting me, and have a great night.